city and I don't respond to,
Hi, Brad.
Hi, you, Miss Megan.
anything out of state.
I'm good.
That's great.
Give it to Keith.
That's why I come in back door. Sneak a salad through the alley.
Took it out and signed it for
Make sure you give my cousin.
He was throughout the Navy. Joe Bag of Donuts was throughout the Navy.
Yes,
Nice to see a new face.
Cell phone, Tony. No, he's an architect. Hey. Serious help.
You'll do great. That's what we say. Oh, yeah, we light things up back here on this. You can quote him on that, by the way. Crooked crook. Got 4 minutes.
How you doing, Miss Megan?
Good, how are you?
Good. Just trying to brighten up the room, smiling.
Trying.
It's dark.
I know. Yeah. Is it on? Oh, yes. You're welcome.
Oh, okay.
Got the children.
I can. Yeah. Okay. That'll work. But you just come get me when you're done. Yeah.
Expect it's gonna take.
Wife told me thank you every day.
I shouldn't.
I appreciate you.
Shouldn't.
Do it that way, because if you do up there to talk about the way we take keys and then leave.
Yeah. That'll work. Of course, you understand what the procedure is. They really don't
That'll happen.
have to make a decision today. Bring it up. And that's fine, but if they want to, they can
Thank you.
by the 28th. Because it's,
So the billboard litigation is a little bit different, right? There is no action from council to take.
Thank you, Kevin.
no, we just, now, we don't even have to file an answer for 60 days. And I gotta find out if I'm still in the, Northern District. Because
something over there
they
I'm supposed to
sent out a thing for the 11th Circuit that you had to get, you had to
Oh, I don't know.
file this amendment. And I didn't see the emails was
Maybe
going
he's
to
a
my
new
old
team member.
BCS account. But I hadn't seen, so which is no big deal. I just
I don't know
had
what's
to-
happened. It's,
built that originally,
You built it
1970.
with your 2 hands.
Well, by 2 hands and
Call the meeting to order. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and the city in which we live. Guide us this afternoon as we make our decisions. Amen. This is the regular meeting of the Newnan City Council, February the 14th. Happy Valentine's Day to everyone. 2023, you have the minutes of the regular meeting of January 17th, 2023 before you. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. We adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next item is minutes of the regular meeting of January 24th, 2023 before you.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion is second. We adopt as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Okay, we've got several appointments to boards and commissions. The first one, Cultural Arts Commission. Mr. Gion.
Next meeting, please.
Thank you. You're still up with the
I'm
next
still up.
one.
All right. John Pirro, I'd like to renominate him.
All right.
Second.
Motion is second. We'll renominate John Piero to the Ethics Commission. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Mr. Shell, I understand we need this one on the next agenda.
Please.
Thank you. Mr. Kretko on the Parks Commission?
Next agenda. as
Next
well, please.
agenda, thank you. And I'm going to follow that trend and go with the next agenda on my Parks Commission. Mr. Kretko, Tree Commission.
I don't want to break the streaks or roll. Thanks, Commissioner, as well, please.
All right, thank you, sir. And Mr. Alexander.
I will continue the tradition. Next agenda, please.
Mr. Gion.
Hey, next meeting, please.
Thank you. Okay, next item on the agenda today, reports from City Manager, Mr. Phillips. Anything? I don't have anything. Agenda today, under new business, public hearing, application for alcohol beverage license. This is for DBA The Dynasty Restaurant at 34 Bullsboro Drive. The reason is new business I'm opening a public hearing on this at this time. You're here to represent Dynasty Restaurant. Thank you. Appreciate that very much. Anyone else here would like to comment on this application? This is a public hearing. Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing and ask everything's in order. I'll ask for a motion on the application.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, we approve the application as presented. Any discussion?
I have one quick question.
Yes, sir.
On page 10, page 2 of the application, type of license says retail off premises. I just want to make sure that's going to have any bearing on our vote here. Because our agenda says retail on premises. I just want to make sure we're actually granting on premises only.
page 10.
Said page 2?
On page 10 of our agenda book, page 2 of the application, type license, retail off premises package.
Okay, no, it is on premise, so that was a mistake on my behalf.
Okay, just making sure everything's in order. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions, comments? There is a motion and a second. I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried. Thank you. Thank you for being here. We appreciate that very much. The next is also a public hearing application for alcohol beverage license. This is for the Newnan-Coweta Historical Society at 60 East Broad Street. The reason for this is personnel change. This is a special permit location. And this is a public hearing on this. You're here to represent. Thank you very much for being here today. Anyone else like to come forward to this issue? Seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time. Everything's in order. I'll ask for a motion.
Make that motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is also a public hearing application for alcohol beverage license, again to the Newnan-Coweta Historical Society. This is from Ritchie Hollis Museum, special permit location, only 74 Jackson Street. The reason, again, is personnel, and this is a public hearing on this. You're here to represent them again. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Anyone else want to comment on this issue, alcohol license? We'll close the public hearing this time and ask for a motion.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve is presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Opposed, like sign, motion carried. The next item on the agenda today is an update on the progress of Distilled Spirits Package Store license for 109 Bullsboro Drive. I'm not sure who is making that presentation. Whoever it is, if you'll come forward and identify yourself for the record, please.
Yes, I'm Brian Reedy. I'm kind of being project manager for the owner.
Rocky Singh. Morris Kelly, representing Lichty Brothers Construction.
Thank you.
So I know we had a meeting in November to do the extension on the for the build of the construction for the property. And we had a couple of things we had to do since then. So one thing was finding a metal building for the structure, because that's our base for the whole project. We're using the existing building there and then adding a metal building behind it. And so we had to find one, and Mr. Reedy here was able to find one, and we were able to secure that. And then we had to get drawings for that, so we had to wait some weeks for them to do the drawings. And then we were able to submit the final plans to the city for permits and approval. So we've done that, and we've done some demo work inside. The bank did ask us to halt that, only because there was an appraisal waiting for them, and then they did the appraisal, and they did the EPA environmental testing, and those things are done, and then we're just waiting now for just a final checklist that the Lichty Brothers and them are just following up with the bank. When that is complete, they'll be able to do full swing construction, but demo work, site cleanup, we've done that, but full-on construction we'll be able to do once we get the final permits from the city.
All right. Anyone else have a presentation to Mr. Shell?
I have a question. Y'all have closed on the property?
No, they actually extended that out. The only reason is because it went from being in-house, oh no, excuse me, the property, yes, we have closed on the property,
Okay.
yes.
I'd say, I've ridden by it, and one building's, outside is really almost finished. One of them is under construction, it's dirt. And I've ridden by your place, and I didn't know that you'd done demo inside, but I see nothing. And my concern is if you hadn't closed, at some point in time, we don't necessarily have to renew you at 9 months. So you've got a clock that if you don't get something done significant or finished, maybe, that we're not going to automatically just renew you. So it's a real thing. I mean, the license has been sitting there for a while, and at some point in time, we could say no when time comes up if you hadn't made real progress.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, we did close on the property, and we did do demo work inside. The main holdup for the complete construction was the metal building.
I heard that part, but I understand that. I'm just saying, there's a clock, and in this world, we've given you extension, and there's a clock running out there, so it's not automatically, going to be renewed if you don't have something done.
Yes, sir, I understand. And then we're still, working with Lichty Brothers, and, as of right now, we should be able to, if we plan accordingly, we should be able to finish with the time you guys have given us, so.
Okay.
So what's the delivery date of the metal building?
Do you remember the exact date on that?
They said 90 days, so
When?
from the date they ordered.
Which was?
Well, the bottom line holdup right now is that the SBA, which does nothing fast, got involved in November, and they're closing on the SBA-backed loans sometime in the next 2 weeks. So that's what we're waiting on, to be able to pull the trigger on everything, and then these guys will get running, the building will get ordered.
We were absolutely ready to get moving forward, so the
Now, if you'll
progress.
identify I'm sorry, you did that earlier.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm
Morris
sorry.
Kelly with Lichty Brothers. So we actually started, we've already cut concrete, we started the demo. Due to the bank regulations and SBA loans, they said I must stop. And therefore, we had already had an agreement, outside of an AIA document, it's an agreement to start the demo processes. But again, the SBA bank, and of course, and all their regulations and stipulations, made us stop. So we have been sitting ready to move forward. We've already submitted all our paperwork for permit. We already have our demo permit. So right now, really the holdup, they're not allowed to spend any money to pay me because their financial records have to show like everybody's purchased a house. You buy a car, you move your money, shows up a red flag. So we've really been trying to limit that exposure to, again, to help close this SBA loan. As far as timeline of construction, nothing's really changed. The only variations that we might face, as we all see, we've been facing a lot of rain, a lot of wet weather. There's nothing out there that's actually moving really quick. So technically, it hasn't slowed us down too much. It's really
What's
turned
the-
to site work.
For a metal building, is there, what foundation is it there for that, or?
It is not, I can't even do I can't do my site work right now. One, weather, and one, we are waiting for some final
Right,
permits
okay.
from the office. But once we have that going, we could get it going, and get the building slab done, erected. The last I heard is technically, some money was allowed to pay the deposit on the building. The building is in process of being made. I actually personally did the verification, approving all the elevations and the sites based on your guidelines with finished work. So I'm waiting on it. Really, I'm just waiting on the city to give me my LDP. And again, good weather. And with that being said, we're waiting on the SBA loan to do a full closure. And again, we're dancing the dance because they're watching the money, waiting for that close. Once it's closed, we're good to go. So.
Any other questions from anyone?
No. What we give them? What, was it a 90?
It was a 9-month extension.
9 months?
I believe the date is August the 22nd.
August 22nd.
August 22nd
August
will be the
22nd.
end of their 9-month extension.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so it seems to me that we have a very high level of interest along with your group as to a closing date on an SBA loan. That's what I'm hearing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, that's a fair statement.
Yes.
Okay, and when do we think that is?
The last date I was given was actually next week. So
Okay.
I can only base it on what the bank says. Again, underwriters and everybody else, Blakely Brothers is doing due diligence, trying to pull up all the paperwork.
Yeah, they gave us basically just a final checklist of construction stuff, what they need to, what, they have to provide some documents, and we have final things that we provided, so we're just, once they look at through the whole file, they should have a date for us. I mean, everything's been approved, everything's good to go, it's just a waiting game at this point for them to process everything.
And I know you've been in touch with our city manager on a fairly regular basis for updates and that type of thing. Does it suit the council for us to just continue that process of the city manager reaching out for updates and keeping us informed, especially as to the close, the actual closing of the SBA loan?
I'm
Is that
fine with
okay with
that.
Yeah, I'm good with
As
that.
long as Mr. Phillips is fine with it.
Okay.
I think we would need another report, maybe in 30 days or something, to see that they did get their SBA.
Well, that's what I'm asking them to do, is to notify
Yeah,
the
okay.
city manager that they have closed.
As soon as that happens, you'll be the second people to know.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And then talk to Daniel, and what we can do is we'll have a representative of this project that can give a bi-monthly update as to where we're at in the project, so that you guys know where it's going at all the time and where we are in projections to finishing it up.
That
That's more likely
communication-
going to be me, so it's great meeting all y'all.
That communication would be appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Anything else from anyone on this? We'll move on. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Okay, the next item on the agenda today is 31 Jones Street, request for a public hearing on March 28, 2023 for structure. Murray, how are you today?
Doing well, Mr. Mayor and Council. Yes, we are requesting a public hearing for an unsafe and unsecured structure at 31 Jones Street for a public hearing on March 28th.
Quick question, how do we get it secure between now and then? It doesn't look like it's possible.
It's not really going to be possible. The storm did significant damage, and then I believe what's happened there is we've had some vagrants come in and do some more taking off doors and trashing it up. So I don't know if, we haven't been able to locate anyone yet that is willing to secure it. So you did
secure it, no. I can give an update. We had to do some search for the property owners as to where they had ended up. And we got in touch with one of the property owner's sister. One of the property owners is deceased. They are trying to work out the estate things now. I advised her that March 28th would be or March 24th would be the public hearing, for them to come to the public hearing and say what they can do. it's a twofold thing. Apparently, there was no insurance on the house, number one. Number two, they have been unable to qualify for any assistance to be able to do anything to the house, even though they're in the tornado thing, according to Ms. Allen. And so what they're working on is they are pretty sure that it's not repairable. And so they're working on trying to straighten it out so that they can get the funds to tear it down. And if they do get the funds to tear it down, to be able to rebuild. But of course, they've been working on that process, as she told me, for a long time now, and don't seem to be getting anywhere with it. So her request was, would the city tear it down? And I told her, well, that the city might tear it down, but we should go through this process first, because what bothers me is the estate that's out there rather than getting something from her. And there is a child of the person who's dead, and he's assisting. And so it might be that we get the order, and they might give us the go-ahead to tear it down after the 28th. But of course, I told her the city would have to file a lien, and, to recover the cost if the city tore it down. So it is in process, and there are people out there, and she's going to get copies of the notice. If you set the public hearing for that day, she's going to get copies of the notice so that she makes sure that Mr. Willie Allen gets copies of it too. So she's helping us at this point.
Appreciate that.
Is it the estate issue that's preventing them from getting any assistance?
Pardon?
Is it the estate issue that's keeping them from getting any assistance?
I don't know what has kept them from getting this. I do know that Mr. Allen had deeded a half interest to Mr. Montgomery. Mr. Montgomery has passed away, and there's been no resolution of nothing filed. And she said they'd hired a lawyer to proceed with the probate, but I don't know anything else beyond that.
I spoke with her about a year ago, and they were in the process of trying to find some type of funding to help with the house, but nothing has happened since. So.
Okay. Is there a motion on the issue?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion is second. We set public hearing date for 31 Jones Street, March 28, 2023. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. We appreciate it. Next is the consideration of a resolution for mowing and maintenance agreement between the City of Newnan and Georgia Department of Transportation for a roundabout at SR 14 US 29 Corinth Road. If you'll remember, Mr. Clark, if you'll brief us on this. Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. The city, requested that the GDOT take a look at the intersection of Corinth Road and Greenville Street. They went through their intersection evaluation, and they came up with a roundabout. This has been 5 years or so, and it's been moved and rescheduled. It was scheduled for this November. I understand it's been pulled from November, and it hasn't been rescheduled. But the earlier you all approved a resolution to pay the electric bill for the lighting, and this is just stating that the city agrees to do the maintenance on the landscaping. You got a picture of what we get with the project. It's not much. Mr. Furbers can start with that and work with it and make it better. But this is just that we agree to take care of the landscaping.
Okay. Any questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We approve as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is consideration of entering into an agreement with a qualified firm to provide construction services for the redevelopment of Wadsworth parking lot and the approval of an associated budget. Mr. Phillips.
Yes, sir, Mayor and Council, you may recall that we bid this project and only received one bidder, Georgia Development Partners. That particular bid was about $1.97 million. We presented it to this body. The body actually authorized staff to go back and try to renegotiate the price and renegotiate the scope, and we've done that. We're coming back before you today. We've been able to get the contract price down to right at $1.56 million, which is a little bit more than a $400,000 decrease. We feel like we've been able to do that without sacrificing the quality of the final deliverable. So what we're asking today is approval to execute a contract with Georgia Development Partner and include and approve the total project budget of $1.76 million. And you'll see in your agenda, there's a resource of how the project is being funded. It is a little bit of a complicated funding solution, but there's SPLOST for the improvements in the right-of-way, the new sidewalks, which is eligible. Parking lot reserve, you may recall several years ago, we sold a parking lot and stuck that into a reserve account for these type purposes. That will exhaust the remaining funds in that parking lot reserve. And then we've actually made some general fund encumbrances in the last few months for the project. And there's also, because of the association with the tourism product in the Wadsworth Auditorium, the ability to use what we call the tourism tourism product development money out of the hotel motel tax. So that's what makes up the $1.76 million. I also have a schedule right here in front of me. Some of you may be interested in how quickly this thing's going to be built. As we know, there's some there's some events coming up that we want to get it done, and I've got a schedule here that shows completion in May of 26th.
May of what?
May 26th, 2023.
May 26th of this year?
That is correct.
When are they gonna start?
Mobilization begins 2/20. Final day of construction per Georgia Development Partners, May the 25th.
Aggressive.
We told them it was important to get it done. So
We're going to establish an over and under on that?
I don't know that I could go either way on that. Okay, so any questions of Mr. Phillips? Is there a motion?
Take a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion a second to approve the redevelopment of the Wadsworth parking lot and the associated budget that was presented with it. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. The next is a consideration of update to the City of Newnan fee schedule. Mr. Phillips?
Oh, yeah, Mr. Mayor, if you don't mind, I want to direct your attention to, I think it's page 53 in your agenda. I think that's section 14 of the fee schedule. What we've done is, as it relates to the sanitation program, there's been several approvals by this body to approve the rates, to approve the bulk excess fees. So we've compiled all of that you've already approved into this document. But as we wrote out the program, we thought there was the late penalty that was already in the ordinance. Come to find out that the late penalty of $5 a quarter was only associated to the downtown program. So we wanted to come back and clarify that in the fee schedule, that there's also, just similar to the downtown program, a $5 per quarter late fee. And we also, when we got into the situation of having to disconnect service, which in this case, when you disconnect service, you go and actually get a can. There's obviously cost involved with getting the can, disconnecting service, and taking the can back. So we're actually also in the fee schedule on page 53 proposing, I believe it is a $35 reconnect. So those are the two changes. It's kind of a little complicated when you look at the total fee schedule and some of the formatting the fee schedules off for wanting to address that. And I also know that there's been some comments that there's probably some other areas of the fee schedule that council may have some interest in looking at it at a future time. But anyway, we do ask for your consideration so that we can have the two amendments related to sanitation.
Okay, and I do understand there may be some comments on some other fee-related issues, but if I could have a motion now to just approve what's before us, and then if we wanted to comment on that, that would be all right.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second to approve as presented the updated fee schedule. Any discussion?
One question. How are we going to get this out to the citizens now that we're making this change?
Well, hopefully it won't be applicable too often. You know, hopefully everyone pays timely so there isn't a fee, and hopefully we don't have to disconnect too many services.
Right.
But obviously, what we've been trying to do in the next bill, which will go out, the next quarterly bill will go out on another, end of this month. We do have a block in
If
there.
they're late, we'll tell them there's a late fee, and if they disconnect, we'll tell them there's a disconnect.
We do have a block that's reserved to so many characters so that we can put messages on the bill going forward. So it may be something that we can put in that particular block. That'd be the best way to get it in the hands of the customer.
And of course, it'll be on our website.
Okay.
Yes, just trying to figure out.
The next question I have, it's a little bit, are we working towards where individuals can start paying monthly? Because that was a big concern, that we didn't have that
Yes.
in place.
What they'll be able to do now that the online portal is set up, they'll be able to make their automatic payments and pay monthly.
But that won't be
That's
until
correct.
after the first quarter,
That is
correct?
Now, we are at this point in time still accepting payments.
Okay,
Yeah, we're not going to, deny payment. We're going to try to work with people.
I understand.
and try to make
My
payments.
concern is the senior citizens who
I understand.
got stuck with a
Either
3-month.
that or they, come up to the office, monthly. You come-
Okay.
Come see the customer service agent. They'd be happy to process them monthly.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
I have one quick, and this goes back to the thing I've always hit on page 12 with that, the downtown commercial service under the residential and the office spaces, anything less than what the rest of the city residential is paying at $32.40, just to bring that on parity with, I think those should be raised to $32.40 to
That
be.
issue's being discussed with the Downtown Development Authority at this point in time. I think they've had, 2 different discussions on the subject, so. Soliciting.
And-
All right, thank you.
And the Development Authority intends to bring back a recommendation to the council regarding.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Okay, I do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and there was a comment.
Yes,
later on about-
you touched on it briefly, but one thing I read through the whole schedule, and especially in the cemetery, I noticed that to me, some of those fees seem relatively low. And you don't have to do it tomorrow, but go to work at some point in time on updating that fee schedule, because I think it's a little bit low.
Councilman Shell, we actually are planning on revisiting the whole cemetery ordinance and the fee schedule
Okay.
and bringing that up current.
Good.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda, consideration of vendor recommendation for audit services. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm here to ask for council approval for my recommended audit vendor, which is Nichols Colley. I reached out to 5 vendors in December 2022, and of the 5, I got 2 to respond. Of those 2, only 1 firm had the staffing that's capable of handling an audit of our size. This is a budgeted expense, and their fees were in line with what we paid previously, including the single audit. City manager and I both reached out to different references, and they got glowing references from everyone. They do the county's audit. I think they do the health department systems audit. So they're familiar with the area, and they're very familiar with local government, and they do GMA's audit.
Any questions, Ms. Hall?
I would also like to ask for approval for a possible extension, instead of bringing this forward every year, so we can build a relationship with an audit firm.
All right, and what would that look like?
So we previously had from what I can tell, at least a 10-year relationship with Clifton Lipson Hardison.
I think we were on a 5-year contract with them,
Was
with
it-
1-year renewables.
Was it 5 or 3?
I don't have the file in front of me, but
Okay.
it certainly was not.
One of the 2.
Year to year.
I think we would be fine at this point in time, starting with a 3.
Okay.
And going from there.
Right.
I make a motion that we accept that recommendation.
Second.
Okay, the consideration of the recommendation for audit services, including a 3-year contract?
Yes.
With the 1-year renewals, okay. All right, thank you. Motion second, any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, motion carried. Housing Authority of Newnan, ARPA update and amendment request. Ms. Stroger, how are you today?
I am well.
Good.
You have a letter from me. We're requesting to revise our ARPA agreement. We have 2 agreements. One is for the Willie Pritchard Recreational Park Project. This recommendation is to add, we're requesting additional funds. We found out after we did the initial design that additional funds would be needed, so we requested ARPA funds from the state of Georgia. And we're waiting that announcement, but we're requesting to amend the agenda to add those funds when we receive them, not if, when.
Any questions on that?
No.
Yeah, I think,
You have a site plan.
yes, and we have several items in here where you're requesting things, so I
You
don't
want
know
me
if we
to-
want to take these one at a time, dissect the letter and approve one at a time, because some of these don't have the clarity that the first one does.
Right.
So let me get a motion then to approve their request on the Willie Pritchard Road.
So moved.
Motion,
Second.
second. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, good. We're off to a good start.
Great.
Chalk level homeowners project.
Okay, this is a little more complicated.
It is.
Okay, we had requested to build 4 homes in the chalk level area. I tried to break it down so that you would look at the specific addresses. 21 Johnson Street. That particular home, the gentleman received a grant from the Methodist Church, and they will be rebuilding his home. So that home will be taken out of our request. Okay, that would be my first. The second is, and I apologize, I did not bring my glasses, vanity. 61 Robinson Street.
66.
Oh, see? Okay. See, can I borrow your glasses? Okay. 66 Robinson. This particular, we have some title issues, which we kind of figured we would have those issues. We're working with the families. It's going to take a little bit longer than what we thought. We're working with the families to get the title issues cleared up. This home has been demolished, so it's no longer on the site, so that's one good thing. But the property owners are interested in selling the property to the housing authority to build the affordable housing unit versus them living in the unit. So that's kind of where we're getting with 66 Robinson Street. We still have to get a clear title before we can do anything. So the revision is asking, instead of us building it for the person who used to live in the property, we're requesting permission to purchase the property and build an affordable housing unit on that property. That's 66.
If I could just interrupt for a quick question, because we are dealing with ARPA funds, and there is a deadline with all of this.
Correct.
Depending on how long this process takes, could we be butting up under the deadline and lose those funds?
Okay, we have.
And that's something we need to maybe look into. It might take a little bit, Mr. Moody, to delve into, I don't know, but.
So the ARPA itself, since these funds have been obligated to the project, technically the project will not have to be completed until December 31st of 2026. The agreement, however, that's established between the city and the housing authority expires on December 31st of 2024. That was set for the purposes of ensuring that we could go in and re-obligate funds if we found funds that were unused. That's the basics of this. As long as she can, we can extend the agreement with the city as long as the project is moving forward, but she will have until 2026 to complete.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And I did want to also, 4 Johnson Street, we have a similar, 4 Johnson, we have a clear title. These 2 gentlemen own the property, but they want to sell this property to us at the cost of $24,000, which is the appraised value, and we will rebuild a affordable housing unit on that property. So that one can move forward as soon as I get permission to amend the agreement. 31 I believe Jones Street, we just talked about it. I didn't want to interrupt, but it is on my list. We're trying to work with them to clear that title. It's very confusing as to who actually has title. 2 of the people are deceased. There is one person that is still on the title, and we're trying to get that clear. But we would like to permission, if possible, to purchase that property. We'll have to demolish it so that this may not be an issue later on. we had it in the budget already to demolish the property. So I wanted to make sure that was understood. It was in the ARPA budget. But now we're requesting permission to purchase the property and to rebuild on that property.
Okay, if the council doesn't mind me doing this, I would like to suggest that we move forward this way. On number 21, Johnson Avenue, we remove that request from their request today, and for it to come back at a future date. And on 66 Robinson, I'd like to see that title cleared first before we give them permission.
Okay.
So it would come back to us after title was cleared. On number 4 Johnson, I would like to see us, or I'm suggesting that we give them permission to buy the lot, and move forward with what they want to do there. It seems like it's cleared enough to be able to do that. And then on 31, considering we just set a public hearing for the end of March, I'd like us to just take no action on that and see what happens at the end of March.
Does that work for you?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Mr. Moody, does that work inside our parameters or
The only thing that I would like to add about the ARPA parameters is the biggest thing, the amendments are fine. However, there is going to need to be a finished product of affordable housing that is filled as soon as the project is complete. So the ARPA category is very specific. This is applied under that affordable housing category, so that does include all costs associated so long as the product does come out to be affordable housing that is occupied.
Sure, and that's our goal.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Is there I have a question. Sure. Is there a maximum that we're allowed to spend per, is that?
No, not as far as I'm aware. The only maximums that I could associate to would be administrative costs, and that's just general across the board with grants like this.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
I have a question about the title. I know that in lots of other communities, they have land bank authorities that are able to acquire properties, go through the foreclosure on the right of redemption process and all that other stuff to clear the title, and then pass that off to nonprofits to be able to build the houses without them having to go through all of that, because there's some powers there with land banks. Is that something that our urban redevelopment authority has the ability to do? And I know that Henry can't be involved with that.
So Cletus and I have had a discussion on an obligation that we currently have in the ARPA funds that has gone unexpended at the point. It sums to around $425,000, and there is actually an ARPA category that would allow the city to go in and use funds to assist in clearing titles, as long as that has a purpose, affordable housing being one of those. So with council's blessing, that would be something that we could potentially pursue.
Because I see us maybe having to do that in the future anyway with the properties that we currently hold and some other properties that are either falling in disrepair or you have these similar title issues, so that nobody else is able to help because you have to have clear title for them to be able to apply for a grant and get permission for someone else to rebuild the home. That's a lot of the issues that I think we're having. And so if we have that ability, I'd like to see us look at exploring that, so that the housing authority and others don't have to do that. That's something we can, because we have special powers to be able to do that. I know you're looking at me funny, Mr. Sears, but Mr.
Well, the housing authority has certain powers too, that they can do.
Sure.
So now, if we can explore what those powers are that the housing authority does. And of course, what's happened now, and we'd have to go, I've never looked at this, we'd have to go back and look under the change under the Redevelopment Act about how you go about doing that. And of course, those types of things do require council approval before, like your urban redevelopment agency can get into it. One of the issues that we talked about that we would have to address is urban redevelopment talks about projects. And so can you narrow one property into a project, and how do you do that to be able to do what you're talking about doing from that standpoint. That we have not.
But I think what Mr. Moody and myself, to clarify, we're talking about was trying to clear title on property the city has some type of rights to, whether it be a tax lien.
Yeah.
Not spending those money right now to clear title on privately owned property. That's a completely different process. Because we have several properties that we could clear title on.
Yeah.
Now, going back to the Land Bank Authority, there were conversations, but the Land Bank Authority law is complicated. It is so complicated that it's kept most communities from going forward with the creation of a Land Bank Authority. This body in and of itself cannot create a Land Bank Authority. You have to have, I think, at least two, the county and the city, or maybe three, I can't remember.
All three of them have to be involved.
Yes.
But that's the
So as we're having this housing conversation around the state as far as workforce housing, et cetera, one of the conversation points around that topic has been that they need to tweak, and they may consider tweaking the Land Bank Authority law to make it a little bit easier for local governments to entertain creations and such.
All right, thank you.
Well, they asked, I don't have any problems with it.
There you go.
They wanted to go.
Okay.
I just
It's complicated.
thought of that, let's interject that into the conversation.
Right. Question?
I have a question then. This is more on the logistics side. We have a cap on how much we've obligated. We have a timeline on when we have to have it spent by and somebody occupied by. Looking at the title issues and looking at the time, kind of, I think we're going to be starting to button up into things, pretty severely at some point in the future. What is my concern though is the cost of everything is going up rather rapidly. Will doing these projects, these homes, still be feasible in 2 years perhaps? Is this something maybe we need to make more scalable, make it, the two houses look like you can hit them fast, which is great. That third house with the title and everything like that, I just want to make sure that we actually you have the ability to do these three houses and do them well.
I think if you look at my letter, what we're looking at is we're also asking that being able to keep the funds from the home that we're taking out, 21 Johnson, because the price has gone up. When we originally submitted our application, we're going to need additional funds. So we would include that in our revision when we send you the amendment.
So same requested funds, but just three houses, not four.
Right.
And do you think that keeping those funds from the fourth, that 60, what was that, 60 to 21 Johnson?
Yes, that's going to assist us to get the three homes.
Do you think that'll make enough funds, keep enough funds, hopefully to keep?
I hope so. That is my wish.
Mine too.
Yeah. We're clearing the title is just something, we just don't know how that's going to come, But we hope that will be enough.
Okay, no, I'm glad you clarified you would keep the same amount of funding.
Well, we're going to work to get a house at Fort Johnson. We're going to work so at least you'll see something on the ground this year.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do I need to recap those four? Are we good? Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second. Motion and a second. If somebody on staff wants to reach out to me, I'll give them my notes. All right, motion and a second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Ms. Rhodes.
Thank you.
We appreciate you being here and your help with affordable housing in Newnan. The next item on the agenda, status updates on 21 Berry Avenue, 5 Smith Street, 33 Ray Street, 25 Pinson Street. Mr. Burry.
Yes, sir. We did want to provide a status update on 4 properties that are currently still before council. All of those, and I'll be happy to answer any questions, any specific one, but they're all moving with some progress, with the exception of 5 Smith Street. There's not much going on there, but you can see the deadlines on our report. But we did see a dumpster deposited at 5 Smith Street, and it looks like they're doing some interior demo, so hopefully there'll be some work starting there soon. We also, I did want to update you on 4 properties that have the resolutions have been satisfied. 21 Johnson Avenue and 4 Westgate Park Drive have been demolished, and 29 Pinson Street and 176 LaGrange Street have been repaired.
Thank you. Quick question on 25 Pencil Street, if you don't mind. It appears to me that the deadline for that resolution is 5 days before our next meeting. Is there significant interior and exterior progress on that we should extend that to?
Yes, sir. In fact, that's the next item on our agenda.
Well, there you go. Are there any questions on the status report other than what I just brought up, which we're clearly about to take up? All right, we'll move on. Next item.
Yes, sir. This, as you mentioned, that resolution deadline is set to expire this month. I did reach out to the owner. The exterior work has been, I don't know if you got any of those pictures up, but the exterior work is pretty much completed, and the interior work, the rough ends have been done except the electrical, which should be completed this week according to the owner, and then it'll just be a matter of finishing up the interior, and he's asking for 90 days to complete the project.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second, we approve the 90-day request to complete the project at 25 Pinson Street. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Burr. We appreciate that. The next item is a request from Foundation Church to close Southport Square on April the 7th for a Good Friday event from 2 p.m. until 10 p.m. You'll come forward and identify yourself for the record, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Clint Nolder, and I'm one of the pastors at Foundation. And we are circling back from a few weeks ago, put some legwork in to hopefully answer the questions and resolve a few tensions, I think, that were starting to accumulate, and we feel pretty good about it. And got a great response from everyone that we spoke to. As I think you probably have in front of you, our request, we were able to speak to every business on Southport Square, and all of them were happy for us to hold it. Some of them even wrote letters for us. I think one of the things that stands out is all of the restaurants that we talked to, all are very much encouraging us to hold the event. Our people do a really good job at taking care of shopping and eating local. It's part of our DNA as a church, and so they have seen prior benefits to when we do something like this, that it's good for their business, not just restaurants, but also retail as well. And so we just got an overwhelming response. And then, of course, we were able to reach out to our friends over at First Baptist as well, and get some approval on that end, which I know that's kind of where the initial disagreement came from, and so those were good conversations. So that's about as much legwork as we could put into it, and hopefully that answers all those questions.
We appreciate your efforts. Are there any questions? Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second. Motion and second, we approve the request from Foundation Church to close the Southport Square on April the 7th. Good Friday event from 2 p.m. till 10 p.m. Any discussion?
I want to thank you for your efforts for going out and doing this. Appreciate it.
No, thank y'all. You just made my day.
How
about that?
Well, I hadn't voted yet.
Oh, goodness.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Now. Woohoo! There you go. Thank you. Okay, that ends our regular agenda. We do have a need this afternoon for an executive session for real estate, for personnel, and for legal. So I'll ask Mayor Pro Tem Corretco to take us into that with a motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that we now enter into closed sessions allowed by OCGA Section 50, Tac 14, Tac 4, and pursuant to advice of the city attorney for the purpose of discussing legal, real estate, and personnel, and that we in open session adopt a resolution authorizing and directing the mayor or presiding officer to execute an affidavit in compliance with OCGA Section 50, Tac 14, Tac 4, and that this body ratify the actions of the council taken in closed session and confirm that the subject matters of the closed session were within exceptions permitted by the open meetings law.
So second. Motion is second. We go into executive session for legal, real estate, and personnel. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. That ends